Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, come on in. We are going to be getting started here in a few minutes, but as you come in, do me a favor. Go ahead and go ahead and share the broadcast with some family and some friends, some Facebook friends, and join in the conversation. We would love to hear from you. If you have questions, if you have comments, you can put those in the comment section and also just ask questions as we are having this conversation on tonight. But we are going to get started here in just a few moments. So if I could sing, I would sing for you all. But since I can't, Kai's the singer. I'm not. I'm just going to sit here and look cute until we get started. We got 1 minute and we going to start on time tonight. I'm gonna get some music though. All right. So, welcome to the truth conversations no one likes to have. I am your host, Evangelist Shawana Britsha, and tonight we are talking about I got a story to tell, love and music. Tonight, joining me in this conversation is a good friend of mine who I have known for quite some time. Kai. Now I know her old last name, so I ain't gonna say that. I'm gonna say Kai Lachelle, right? Lachelle Kai.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So Kai Lachelle is joining me on tonight to share her story and to
Mhm.
talk about her love for music, and I mean her story. Kai, we've been knowing each other for a long time. We
Yes.
met we met at the Fed. I won't say
Yeah.
everything. We met at
Yeah.
the Fed,
Mm.
and we both were in leadership, and we kind of just took to each other. And the one thing I observed about you in the time that I've known you is Kai is shy. She's very reserved. She's a
Very.
stay to myself type person. She's also a I mind my own business and I keep people out of my business type person. And so I'm saying that because that matters for where we're getting ready to go. And the
Mhm.
reason I say that is because Kai don't share her business.
I do not.
she, Kai, but the thing I love about Kai is when Kai has something to say. When Kai wants to speak, you have to listen. And so
Mhm.
that's what I do love about her as a person and even as a leader for the company that we work for. But welcome, Kai.
Hi. Hi, everybody. This is pretty cool. Thank you for having me.
You are welcome. You're welcome. So tonight is going to be a little unorthodox for us because what I share with Kai is because we're homegirls, we're girlfriends, right? I wanted it to just follow this thing because I really wanted it to be comfortable for her because I know the type of person she is. When she reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, friend, I would love to come on your show," it shocked me. She can tell you that because I was like, "What you want to?" I'm like, "Friend, what you want to talk about?" Now I know you done been through some stuff, but you
Good.
gonna share? And she was
Yeah.
like, "Yes, yes."
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
hi,
Yeah.
who is
Um.
Kai?
So I decided to come on and share because I know over the years, since we've known each other for, oh gosh, 10 years plus now,
10
about,
plus years.
yeah. And over the years, me and you've had conversations over the course of time, and you've been like, "Hi, you should share your story because it's a testimony, and it bless other people. But not only that, it will relieve you and some of the mental angst and stress that you go through with holding on to some of the things that I've been through. So really, I'm here because of you, Shawana. I'm here because I know that that is just something that I know I need to do, and you've encouraged me to do. So that's why I'm on your show. I wouldn't have done it anywhere else other than with you. So
Well,
yeah,
so
yeah.
thank you so much. You just never know how much an impact you have on a person's life.
Hmm.
But I do remember those lunchroom conversations.
Yes, ma'am.
And I remember you sharing. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I found it an honor um, that you would share some of your most vulnerable things. Why do I feel like crying? Oh God.
Don't, because you're gonna make me cry. You're gonna make me cry. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Bring it back in.
Because people don't have to trust you with their stuff.
They don't. You're
People
right.
don't have to trust you with their truth. And you can contest that you've not ever heard anybody come back and say, Shawana said anything that
Absolutely
you
not.
share with me. Because
Hmm.
I knew that those times you shared your stuff with me,
Hmm.
it was also a ministering moment for me.
Hmm.
And how I wouldn't dare, you know what I'm
Hmm.
saying, share that because God was trusting me for you to be able to come to me and confide in me. So thank you
Yeah.
for trusting me enough to share with me in private, and then also allowing me to have an impact on you for you to come on here and want to share it on a broader scale. So my
Hmm.
first question for you, Kai, is who
Sure.
is Kai? Because
Who's
when
Guy?
people see Kai,
Ah.
uh, who is Kai?
um, Kai is a fun-loving spirit. Um, she loves music. Music has been um, a guiding light, a joy for me to write and to sing and to um, put myself and immerse myself into those things. Um, I'm a mother. I am a daughter. A mother of a 23-year-old. I've grown up. Uh, I'm getting used to identifying with empty nest. I guess
Yeah.
where exactly where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm just a joyful spirit that I think that has been through some things that
Mm-hmm.
have shaped me in the person I am today. I've walked a lot through a lot of trials in my personal life, and um, they've really opened my eyes to. This is why I don't share to people because people have been people and peopling around me, and you see folks who try to inquire and want to know about things that are going on in your life for all the wrong reasons. So I was very careful. And I'm so grateful that we met the way we did, because I think if we met differently, like in the church world, I probably wouldn't even have given our relationship really that much of an opportunity. I know that sounds bad, but because I was raised in church and because I was raised there, some of that stuff kind of, hurt me. So because we, met at work, it kind of opened the door for our relationship to grow and for me to share some of the things I've been through. So that's kind of who Kai is and where I'm where I'm currently at, I guess.
So talk
Sorry.
about your experience in church, because I
Mhm.
know that you grew up in church, and you ain't just grow up in church, you were immersed in church. Talk
Yeah.
about that and how
Mhm.
you started singing.
So I actually I started singing before I started going to church. Started singing at the age of 2. My mom used to tell me all the time that I would sing the Sesame Street songs and things of that nature of her exposing me to music. And then my mom went through a lot of trials and tribulations with her health and her body, and she decided to give God a try. So she joined a church, and she was the first person out of our family to get saved. And being married to a Navy man, my dad is military, E6 retired. Um, she had to, or she wanted him to be saved as well. So that was a journey for me to watch my mother witness to my father and bring him into knowing God. Was an interesting perspective from a child's view. So both my parents got saved. They got remarried at church. I got to participate in my parents' saved wedding because both of them were saved, and I got to stand at the altar with my parents and watch them take vows um, in their being saved. So after that, I uh, became saved myself. And I was saved and received the Holy Ghost at 9 years old. And, small at the time Pentecostal church. And and how I got immersed into singing publicly was at church. They found out, oh, well, I used to hum to myself and kind of sing to myself around, and they were like, well, you should join the choir. I was like, okay, why not? So I joined the choir, and the bug bit me. I was in the choir, I was on the praise team, I was in a group called Grace, an a cappella group, and we sang along and traveled along with our pastor when up until probably the age of 17, I was doing that. And yeah, so that's how I kind of got my start into understanding music, understanding harmony, my exposure to different artists in the Christian arena that translated to the secular arena, like commissioned, like in Fred Hammond, my favorite artist, cross genres. But that's how I got exposed to those things. And that's where I kind of learned from, along with participating in choir, um, digesting those recordings and being able to dissect parts and understand music and musicality. So that's kind of where I got my start.
Okay. So let's talk.
Okay. Okay. Ooh. All right.
I know, right? Let's talk.
Okay.
Um, we don't have to dive right into it, but however you
Okay.
want to go.
Okay.
Um, you have been through some things in life
Hmm.
that were challenging.
Very.
Um, you were married,
I was.
and how long were you married for?
I was married for 7 years. I was with the same person for 14.
Okay.
So I moved away from Pensacola at 23 years old, and I moved to the city of Chicago. And I met my ex-husband in Chicago. And um, yeah, our relationship kind of moved really quickly. I was in a new city. I brought my 1 year old with me at the time, Kamali. She was 1 when I moved. I put all my stuff in a U-Haul and left.
Yeah.
I was like, deuces, I'm up. And I did that for a plethora of reasons in my head at the time, but more so it was just to really dive into my independence. Being my dad was a deacon, in the church, and our lives were really under a microscope, and I had to live my life a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So at 23, it was like, after I had my daughter, I was like, yeah, it's time for me to go. I'm going to leave. So I did. And I moved. And then I met my ex-husband in Chicago. And we were together for a while. We kind of struggled in the beginnings of our relationship. And from there, when I decided to come back home, my mom got, I guess, ill again. So I came back to Pensacola, but I left without him because we were having, some struggles in our relationship. So I decided it's time to come home. So I put my stuff in the U-Haul and came back home, but left him. Um, but when I got back to Pensacola and tried to get, family stuff, in order, um, he wanted to follow me. And I guess became serious at the time because we were talking about marriage and talking about trying to, take steps forward in our relationship. And, but he never really pushed the gas in my
Mm-hmm.
brain like I thought he should. Right. And mind you, this is like my first adult relationship. Huh,
Mm-hmm.
funny. But, so we, he moved here and we, were together for, um, about 2 years before we got married in 2010, May of 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was, when we jumped the broom. Go
I
ahead,
want
I'm
to go
sorry.
back. I want to go back because
Sure.
something triggered a question for me.
Mhm,
Because you moved up there with Kamali at the age of Kamali being the age of 1, and
mhm.
knowing your history and even the type of church that you went to, how was your experience with that? Because was that the reason that you left Pensacola as well? Because you had a 1-year-old and you weren't married?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I
Yes,
know the type
and
of church you came from.
yes,
Okay.
that was more of I in my brain, I always prayed and asked God that for things from, um, a husband stance, and for me, I just never wanted to be with anybody in the city of Pensacola for real. I know
Okay.
that sounds bad. I know it sounds bad. I'm sorry, guys, if that's offensive, but I didn't want to um, date anybody from here. I didn't. So I think that was part of the reason, but it was also just to kind of assert my independence. My
Hmm.
parents had been telling me, every move to make my whole life. And for me, I was like, being the oldest of 4 kids, I was like, yeah, I need to go do something for me and do
Different.
something different and something radical that nobody would ever expect with a
Expect.
1-year old all the
Chicago
way
is
across the
definitely
country.
Chicago was radical, Kai.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Moving from
very.
Pensacola to Chicago, that's a big difference.
Very radical. Very radical. But
So
yeah,
he moved here. You
yes, it
married
is.
2 years.
Mm.
How did things progress after you all got married? Did things get better, or did things get worse after you said I do?
We did a little bit of premarital counseling, but it didn't prepare me for the things that I experienced in my marriage. Um, Things were okay in the beginning, but they began to kind of spiral downwards, over the course of time. Um, my ex-husband was very city, trying to get used to a Pensacolian's life. which is a lot slower, as we know. So that was, I think, a strain a little bit on our marriage. But um, he, ooh, okay, he was he changed a lot. When we did say I do, a lot of things came out of the woodworks that I, didn't expect. As far as flipping the script and being a different person from the 7 years that we were together before that, and then the two we, you know, were preparing to get married. It's kind of changed. So a little bit for the spirit of, I guess, control that I wasn't necessarily used to. The arguments, the things that I wasn't prepared for. That you talk about marriage, you talk about trying to be prepared for a move like that, but you're not fully aware of just that dynamic and what it can bring. You know,
But you
so
grew up in a household where your parents are still married right now. They've been
my
married for
parents
what,
are still married right
40,
now.
50 something years,
Absolutely,
right? So you grew up in a household with
I did.
examples, right,
I did.
of marriage and stick it out no matter what, and you all of
Yeah.
that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But
Absolutely.
when challenges started to form in your own marriage,
Mhm.
why do you think the challenges became so unbearable?
Well, I think that, we had examples. We had examples in, my parents and also in the church I grew up in to watch people be married. But there was a lot of, they weren't showing you, they were married, but they weren't necessarily showing you like conflict resolution or, my parents used to kind of, when they had disagreements, they would argue or have those not in front of us. So we didn't know necessarily how to manage um,
Conflict.
conflict at all. Like, and
That's so good.
yeah, yeah. And so with that, watching your parents be parents, a lot of that is what I saw them being parents, not necessarily navigating the trials and tribulations of marriage in my purview.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started facing those things in my marriage and started facing um, those hardships and things that I didn't quite understand, I didn't know necessarily how to deal with them
And navigate through them.
and navigate through them. And honestly, to tell you the truth, while I was going through it, I didn't know if I wanted to be honest
Mm.
with you, because there were so many things that were transpiring that I was like, hey, well, this is not what I expected.
Hmm.
So
I
yeah.
really want to put a pin right there
Okay.
because it's for the sake of the audience.
Sure.
Um, I literally was talking to somebody today about not growing up in a family where you're taught how to have healthy conflict, how to have um, conversations
Mhm.
that may be debatable, but it's still a healthy conversation.
Mhm.
And the parties can walk away from the conversation,
Mhm.
and even if it's tense, the issues are resolved. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
I grew up in an environment around, listen, I have a ton of men in my family, but I
Mhm.
also have a ton of women in my family.
Mhm.
And we're all very close knit. And so are always, around. Weird. Now that I think about it, the men are always around each other and the women are always around each other.
Mhm.
So saw how the women resolve conflict in the relationship, which was not healthy.
Right.
So
Mhm.
throughout the generations, that's what was passed on. That's how you
Right.
handle it, right?
Right.
So, and it's funny, I was talking to my son about this same subject as well, where he has friends who had both parents in the household, but they also did not have they didn't show their children how to have healthy conflict resolution. They didn't show them at all. So
Right.
when they got out on their own, it was, I don't even know what's the word. It was overwhelming. It was
Yeah.
overbearing because they
Hmm.
didn't know what to do and they didn't know how to do it. Whereas what I was taught the wrong thing to do, and
Right.
it sounds like you were taught nothing
Yeah.
on how to do it. And I just think, especially in our community,
Hmm.
we have to learn how to have healthy conversations
Yes.
without there being a lot of yelling. My
Right.
father, he's working on me. Hallelujah. He is. But I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
was taught. That's what I was taught. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
that's what it is. So
Right.
anyway, I really wanted to put a pin in that because
Hmm.
we as Black people, we don't know how to do it.
Right.
And you see our other brothers and sisters in Christ with different colors
Yes.
or ethnicity, and they know how. They
Right.
know how to resolve
Right.
it.
Hmm.
We don't. So anyway, I just wanted to pull out that
Absolutely.
point.
That's a really good point. Really good point.
So
Yeah.
things started getting challenging for you, and your truth was you because you didn't know how to handle it, you didn't want to handle it.
Yeah. So, all right. I guess I just ripped the Band-Aid off.
However you want to do it. You already know we talked. Well, whatever
So
comfortable you want to share.
so I am a domestic abuse survivor. So a lot of that conflict resolution that we were talking about, or conflict, um, I tried to communicate. I tried to be a better communicator, but it wasn't met with for my ex-husband in a way that was productive. And for me, that developed into, first of all, arguing, and then, you know, um, emotional abuse, and then, physical abuse. And when you were meeting me, at work, and we were having our conversations, I was walking through those things. And you know me, Shawana, when it comes to work stuff and work, and being there 24/7, as much as I worked, right? I would work like 25 to 30 hours of overtime a pay period. And I was doing that because I was trying to be at work to prevent from being at home, if that makes sense. Because I was trying to manage. I didn't want to manage any of that. I didn't want to be around. I didn't, after a certain point it became, too much. But because, you see that my parents, they've been married 46 years, and, married couples around me at the time have been married for long periods of time, you stick and you stay, you figure it out, you try and figure it out, and for me, I didn't know how to do that. And us to come to a place where it was just productive. And I don't know if it was just an ego thing, like it was a lot of things that were going on that I just didn't understand. I thought that we should have been, I guess, in a different place in my mind when it came to, just even down to the way we communicated. My parents both slept in the same room consistently, when they never not slept together in the same room. I mean, physically sleeping, right? And my ex-husband didn't do that. He slept in a complete separate room to me, to try to punish me for things that I was thinking and feeling at the time. So for me, what I did was I just ran from it, and I worked. And around the time that I was winning all those awards at work, I was completely losing my mind and losing it at work. Um, and those are the conversations, that me and you would have essentially. It was a lot to walk through. Um,
And as a mother of a daughter,
mhm.
how were you processing all of that with her being there in the house?
It was a lot for her to digest. There are things that me and her have talked about over the years. After my divorce, I was divorced June 4th, 2018 at 4:49 p.m.
Oh, wow,
I
you
know.
remember
No, I
the
remember.
date, the time.
I remember they emailed me the paperwork while I was at work. But with my daughter, we've had conversations over the years about how she perceived, our relationship and how it impacted her and some of the things that she heard that I didn't think that she heard, or some of the things that
Wow.
she saw that I didn't think that she saw. And that
Wow.
was so jarring for me in so many ways, because I thought that I was doing a great thing by us getting married so she can have, a father figure in the house. But
Mhm.
some of the things that she has been through and seeing some of the things that I went through kind of impacted her in a way that you know, when she became an adult, that she was willing to share with me, that I was like, wow, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So
A
so it,
hard swallow when your children.
it
Yeah.
really, really was a hard pill to swallow
Yeah.
from coming from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how, because I do remember you talking about, it got to a point where you started sleeping in the other room, and I was
Mhm.
like, "What? Wait, how did it get to that? How long did that go on for?"
Um, that went on for a while. I would say when we got married, we went through a small honeymoon phase, you know, and it was all love, but it just became a real big dramatic shift from what I remember. And it just all of a sudden just started happening where he just went to the other room. And at first I was like, well, maybe he's just dealing with something he doesn't want to talk to me about. So
Mhm.
I tried to have the conversations with him, I guess as his wife, and he wasn't trying to open up about any of that. So I was guessing, and I was married to someone who was significantly older than me at the time. So I was, um, we had a 12-year age difference.
Gotcha.
So it was a little bit of trying to understand generationally, I guess, where his mind was in reference to marriage. But probably about maybe 6 months in, I would say, from when we got married, he decided he wanted to start sleeping in the other room without, and then not wanting to tell me why. And I questioned, okay, I get emotional. Okay. I questioned myself a lot, whether or not that had to do with me or what was going on. Like, what am I doing wrong? I even asked, like, what am I doing wrong? Because I was blaming myself for him just vacating to me. That's the way I viewed it, because my parents were always in the same room. So when you decide you wanted to just go to another room in the house and not tell me why, I'm just like, okay, all right. So it was a difficult transition to try to get the information out of him, because I'm very much an analytical person when it comes to like logical stuff. You just tell me what's going on and I can fix it, or I can try and make it better. But he never even gave me that opportunity to try to tell me what was going on. So then I tried to suggest counseling, and it, he's older than me. So being at the age that he was, I don't know what it is with, and don't shoot me in the comments, but I don't know what it is when it comes to to people of color, especially Black people in counseling, and Black people and Black men particularly in counseling sessions. I don't know what it is, why that's a trigger for especially for a man his age. He was just adverse to trying to go. And I finally convinced him. I was praying. I was on my knees like every night asking God, because he wasn't in the room with me. So I just took the time to pray. And I'm like, God, what do I just help him understand that we can go get some help for whatever he's dealing with. And I finally got him to go. But
so you never thought it was you. You just always thought it was something he was dealing with.
Well, no. I thought it was, oh no. I thought I did some, like, I was browbeating myself. Absolutely. Because, I thought that, well, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something that's turning him off? Like, what am I doing? So I would always just question myself. And again, I asked him directly. I'm like, is it me? What's happening? Am I doing something that's making you, have this behavior? And, he didn't necessarily share a lot, but I think in retrospect and thinking back on it, while we were going through the processes of divorce, was it really like an ego thing? Like, because he always used to kind of complain about, me and my job and some of the things that I would do at work. And I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to digest what it is. And it just I wasn't connecting the dots. And that I do take responsibility maybe for, if anything, because I don't think that I was connecting dots fast enough, but then there wasn't enough information for me to connect dots with, so, and I know that with us, with people color, we hold on to things and we don't necessarily want to express ourselves, fully, especially with people we're in a relationship with. So I know that was partially kind of vague, but at the same time, I was walking through it vaguely because I didn't know, how to fix the situation. So when we finally did go to counseling, I purposely looked for a Black male counselor because I knew, okay, I don't want anybody or anyone to possibly bruise his ego in a way that would be damaging. So maybe somebody that I felt like he could connect with and both of us could connect with would make sense. Well, that didn't really work either. I think it was just the whole, I don't need another man telling me what to do type of scenario. And I'm laughing now, but in the midst of that, sorry, go ahead.
We froze. So we got to go back to that.
Okay.
Because you
Sorry.
said you brought in somebody or suggested to bring in somebody that was a male to talk to him, and his attitude was what now?
Yeah, I brought him in to talk to both of us for marital counseling, and essentially, I looked for a Black male purposefully because I wanted him to feel comfortable, or at least I would think or thought that he would have felt comfortable to talk to somebody about our struggles and issues from a Black man's perspective. Mm-hmm. But when we started our conversations, we only had one session, and that session ended very poorly. And because that counselor was challenging, I guess, his thought process at the time, which he couldn't really handle. And he would challenge me in the same way, but as women, we're a little bit more receptive to I don't want to say correction, but correction, or receptive to people giving us ideas and how to make changes to redirect. Whereas with him, he wasn't receptive because he thought that he didn't need another man telling him what to do. So maybe, And he said that out loud in the session. Like, I don't need another man telling me what to do in my marriage. So I thought it would be helpful, but it wasn't helpful in that way. Yeah,
So you guys walked away from the counseling session and nothing was resolved.
no, nothing was resolved. As a matter of fact, it was. I remember that like it was yesterday because I was totally like embarrassed. But he got into an argument with the counselor about
Wow.
about the conversation that we were having about, and we were talking about, we were talking about conflict. We were talking about how to resolve conflict and whether or not how you communicate, and do you see your wife trying to communicate, and just asking questions and asking probing questions and things of that nature. And it just wasn't received by him very well. I didn't foresee that at all. I thought us going would be an amazing thing for us to kind of open this door together. Um,
So you
and
were
it did.
trying all of the options that you could think of
Yes,
to make the marriage work.
I was.
You really wanted your marriage. You didn't want to just leave your marriage because you believed you could stick it
Yeah.
out no matter what. What
I,
was the drawing? Like, what was the last straw for you that made you say, you know what, can't do this no more?
um, the emotional abuse was one thing. To me, that's a reverse psychology tactic in my brain. Like, you're sleeping in another room to punish. It's crazy, but I guess that's
Let
what
me
he
ask
thought.
you this too, because I wanted to make sure. You ain't got to tell
Yeah.
me now.
No, I could tell you.
Him sleeping in the other room. Did he ever come to your room?
um, no, actually, did not. Like,
So 6 months in the marriage, he stopped. He started going to the other room, and he stopped
mhm,
coming to your room. Or
start coming
were
to
you
our
ever
room.
going? Okay, well, were you ever going to visit his room?
I
I'm
try.
just trying.
Yeah, I tried. But it wasn't I wasn't received very well. Like, what are you doing
He
here? Like,
he went
okay.
to the other room and withheld from you as well.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, sexually, yes, absolutely. It wasn't. It was. We weren't having sex. No. And a part of me, honestly, in full transparency, I really believe that might have been a part of what was going on that he didn't want to tell me about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because again, I married somebody that was
Older.
a lot older than me,
Mhm. Mhm.
and he didn't know how to articulate that to me in a way that made him feel safe and me feel safe
Comfortable. Yeah.
and comfortable. Like,
Mhm.
and uh, I truly believe that, that was part of the reason. Do I know that to this day? No, but God reveals things,
Yeah.
as we are outside of the scenario revisiting. But you asked me about the last straw. I think in walking through those things, there were two main things that are really top of mind for me. Actually three. First one was when things got physical with us, and I was trying to communicate to him, and I'm not going to say that I did it in the right way. He really pissed me off, and I did go kind of off the rails. And he, I guess, didn't like what I was saying to him, and I ended up being thrown into a wall.
Hold on, Kai.
Um,
Let me stop you just 1 second. I hate to stop you,
it's okay.
but I just got to read Tyson put in this chat.
Who? Lord.
Brother Noah. So for
No.
those that don't know, Noah is Kai new man. But he done put in here everything, and I do mean everything you went through has prepared you for me. And my marriage also has given me a different perspective on how to treat you. I am sorry it hurt you, but I am grateful it happened. You is mine now. June 20th, 2026, save the date. A Tyson fairy tale comes true for us.
Lord.
Now
Noah.
back to your regular schedule program. I know that's right, brother Noah. You better claim your
Oh,
woman.
Jesus. Have
Do
mercy.
it. Do it.
Noah. Oh, God.
Look, all
Okay.
that pain turned into purpose, and now he's saying you is mine now. I'm gonna know. I love it. He said, I'm gonna treat you right, baby. He treated you wrong, but I'm gonna treat you right. And I know you over there doing a praise break, brother Noah. Come on, man of God. I love when a man of God say, yeah,
Shawana.
he
Oh,
failed,
Lord.
he fumbled you, but I called it. So
A
I
whole
had to
mess.
stop you because he is in the
Oh,
comments cutting up. I
I
love
know.
it. And I'm
He
gonna
is a
save
cut.
the date.
He is a cut up. He absolutely is. I, where was I at? So yeah, the first thing was when it turned
Mhm.
physical with us and I got, put into, he threw me into a wall. And my daughter wasn't there at the time. And I guess that was one of the scarring, I guess, points for her because I guess she was gone away or she was visiting, I guess with my sister or something like that, spending the night. And we had gotten to this big altercation. And then there's a hole in my hallway wall from my body going through it. And that for me was traumatic to say the least, because, by me being a taller woman, I'm like 6 foot tall, guys, by the way, played basketball in high school. Um, I never experienced anything like that from like, a man. My dad, whooped us when we were kids. That's different, right? But never have been like hemmed up and, just kind of tossed like a rag doll. So when my daughter got home, when she finally did, he was apologetic after the fact because I was crying and, my back was bruised and he was upset. And he was like, well, I'll fix it. I'll fix the wall. So he fixed the wall and put like a frame there and made like a shelf out of it. And when Kamali came home, she was like, what is this? And oh, no, no, no. And he just decided to put um, a shelf in the wall. I was
You
scrambling.
covered it up and you protected it.
Yeah, I covered it up and I put it thinking that she believed that at the time. Um, so that was straw number one when things got physical with us. That was not the only time, but that was the one that was like, yo, I really was kind of shooken by. The second thing, um, for me was the one time that I was getting ready for a family reunion and my family was getting together in Vegas and we had planned this trip for a long time. And it was my dad's side of the family and my husband was supposed to come with me to go. Well, at the last minute, tickets bought for 9 yards, he decided he didn't want to go to the family reunion. So I guess he thought that I wasn't going to go either. But I told him, no, I'm going because my ticket's paid for. Just because you don't want to go doesn't mean that I'm not, and enjoy my family. So, right before, um, well, I will say that again, he didn't go. I got on the plane and I left, and he was upset about it. While I was in Vegas, I was like kind of bothered by the fact, obviously, that he didn't come, but I was turning up. I was acting a clown out in Vegas.
Uh-oh.
I was
What
being, I
goes
was
on in
being really, I
Vegas?
was being, I wasn't being crazy, because we're my family, but at the same time, I was having a good old time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a little bit, heavier back then. I was gaining weight, and I was gaining some weight. And I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on. So Um, so in the midst of doing all of that and having a good time with my family, I get back on the plane and I'm not feeling the best. I'm like, what is going on? It almost felt like I had like flu-like symptoms. I wasn't throwing up and all that, but I was like, I just don't feel right. I feel good. So I got home off of the plane when we came back, and he wasn't at home when I got there. But when I came in, I unpacked a little bit, but I just really was feeling like it just progressed on the plane and driving back. I was just sick, so I just laid down. And I was like, this is not, I'm not feeling great. So I just probably need to go to the emergency room. And I rarely like do that. I don't, um, I don't like doctors for real. Like I don't
Yeah.
like needles or any of those things. So I knew that they would have to poke me and prod me to figure out what was going on. And I didn't want to have to go through any of that. But I did.
Mm-hmm.
I went into the emergency room that night and I um I found out that I was miscarrying. So the one time that we did, we weren't having our in our marriage we weren't having sex regularly, but we did, I guess, have sex to where I guess I did get pregnant and I wasn't aware. And I went up to Vegas partying down, not realizing, that I was um, about a about 6 weeks pregnant. So when I was miscarrying and they had to do a DNC, and I'm telling you, I didn't expect that because Kamali by that time that was
16, 17.
2016. That was
Okay.
2016, 17.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 2016, 17. You remember because I was heavier and we would talk about, my weight and stuff like that. But
And I
yeah, it
think
was
were we back at the Fed or were we on pace?
we were back at
Okay. The
at
building.
at building.
Building
Yeah, 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 building 5.
building 5. Yeah.
We were. Yes, we were. And yeah, it happened when we first got to the building, like the first week. Um so when that was happening, he came up to the hospital and um okay. This kind of gets a little emotional for me because I'm kind of remembering um how all that transpired. But we I was in the hospital room. They did their, procedure, and I was just still in shock. And um, he finally got to the hospital, and I had already talked to the doctor and knew what was going on. And I thought that I was going to end up explaining it to him, but the doctor came in while he was there, and he was proceeding to ask questions of what was going on and what happened. And he wasn't taking it, I guess, very well. He wasn't taking it very well, and he straight up asked the doctor, so was it because she hmm, woo, all right. Was it because she uh, was fat and gained weight that she lost our baby? So he asked the doctor
Whoa,
that,
whoa,
and
whoa, whoa. He asked the doctor, was the reason you lost the baby because he said the word fat?
he did. He did. He was very insensitive at that moment. And I was like, I laughed it off. When I'm in situations that are uncomfortable, I kind of have a tendency of laughing or giggling, to try to cope with. It's a coping mechanism of mine. I don't sometimes I just can't help it. So I just kind of giggled it off. And I was like, Doc, he just doesn't, it's okay. It's fine. I just kind of laughed it off and tried to push forward with his questioning, I guess, procedure at the time in his brain. But basically, in his brain, I lost the baby because I was, I guess, too fat at the time. And he also blamed me after the doctor left the room. He blamed me because I guess I went to Vegas and I partied, right? Or I was hanging out with family, that I'm the one, it was my fault. So basically, he blamed me for losing our child, you know. Um, that I had no, if I knew that I was pregnant, or if I thought that I could get pregnant being that age anyway, I don't, my actions would have been totally different. But um, that was like eye opening, another eye opening milestone for me to decide, like, yo, this is not working for me, for you to be able to stand in front of someone like that. And even if you blamed me, even if you blamed me for our miscarriage, I wouldn't have expected you to do that in front of
The doctor.
individual or a doctor or someone who wasn't
Yeah.
even close to us. So I had to cope with losing a child, but also being blamed for it. And that was just an overwhelming, something that I just never, in my brain, I just didn't think that we could come back from
From
that,
that.
because I was struggling with identifying how, without, without any type of apology. And there really wasn't an apology. He really stood 10 toes on that. There was no like, oh, I said the wrong thing. Or you know how sometimes men, they'll say something and they're like, ooh, I messed up. None of that. It was all just stuff that flowed out of, his mouth. So it was like, okay, this is how you really feel about me, you know? And that's what made me know, or kind of understand, okay, so was it the fact that I gained weight that you weren't sleeping in the same room with me? Or, so when you asked me before, was I blaming myself? Oh, yeah, I questioned myself. I questioned my womanhood. I questioned a lot of things, um, about how I carried myself, about, my weight gain, all of these things, in that situation that kind of brought us to that point. So that those two things. I said a third thing, and I'm the the third thing really was, even after that situation, I still tried to stick and stay, right? Because, I think that that's what we saw growing up. Our parents, they were together, and you're going to be together. And regardless of whatever this person does or says, you're in it, and you got to manage it, and you got to figure it out. So I still kind of, not kind of, I stuck around after that, knowing I had these feelings. But we had a birthday party for him. He was turning 50. And we had this birthday celebration. We did all the nines, and it was a big deal. It was, uh, when I do throw parties or do things like that, I like to kind of go overboard. So
Hmm.
I did it. It was a really nice party for a 50, for 50. But we did the party. We had a good time. I thought that, because right after that we were going to go on vacation. So when we were going on vacation, we got in the car, we rented a car, we went to, um, got a room in Biloxi for over the weekend. But before we were traveling there, we got into a major accident. Somebody rear-ended us,
Hmm.
and the car spun around and on the Interstate I-10 three times before it landed in a ditch with us in it.
Oh, wow.
And when that transpired, um, the aftermath of that, the aftermath of how he was acting, was just like, I just can't anymore. I just can't anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't walk in this. It just got really, whether he was blaming me for the accident, blaming, me for losing our kid, it just got progressively worse. And at that moment, I was like, I don't even want to, I don't even want to understand why anymore.
Mm.
I just kind of gave up, and I was like, I don't think this could be salvaged. So that's when I decided to walk away.
In the midst of all of that you were going through, um, you still didn't stop singing.
No,
Singing was your safe. Singing was your safe place.
it's so safe for me. Believe it or not, in the beginning you were saying how shy I am, and I am. I'm very shy. But music is something that I just lean heavily on. Mind you, the majority of our marriage, I was singing in a group called Divinity, and we were writing and performing and doing a lot of things across the city. And um, that was a time in my life where I held on to that so dearly. Although a part of some of the things that he would share with me, I guess he didn't want me to do that anymore. And I'm like, that is the one thing I kind of grabbed onto tooth and nail, like, scraping, nails across the chalkboard type situation, holding on to, I'm going to sing. Like, you can take everything else away from me, but that you're not going to touch. So I said, I was performing.
Why do you think he wanted you to stop singing?
Shawana, I don't know. I wish I had an
Mm,
answer for that, because that's something that brought me joy. Music brought me
mm,
joy. We were doing like so many great things. And maybe that's what it was, because maybe the attention that it brought that he wasn't necessarily used to, because again, Divinity was,
mhm.
secular. So we were doing things downtown, in some of the arenas and things like that. So we were being seen across the city at the time. But I don't know. I really
Mm,
wish. And then, and I did notice a change. The funny thing about it, and when you asked me that, right when Divinity was really um, in the midst of like breaking through and writing our own music and, performing our own stuff and letting people hear it outside of, um, like, in different spaces, like being heard
mm.
by record labels and stuff like that. That's when things started,
That's when he kind of wanted you to.
shifting too. So I don't, I think there's a combination of things, but more so, um, maybe the attention that I was getting, he
It was
wasn't
bringing.
comfortable with.
Liz says, um, because it brought you joy. And then Bridget says, "Hey, Bridget Hicks." Bridget works with us. Bridget
Hey,
says, "Sounds very narcissistic. He
mhm.
wanted to take everything of value from you."
Ooh, that's powerful. You said
Yeah.
Bridget said that. Wow,
Hmm.
that's a
Yeah.
different perspective. And thank you for that, by the way. I didn't. You know, the word narcissist is thrown around a lot. You know what I mean?
It
Like,
is.
people use that word a lot,
Hmm.
and in retrospect, I think that he had narcissistic tendencies.
Hmm.
Um, I I I can definitely understand that, but the different, for in my situation, I think I don't know. I believe that he just had struggles, because that's the way in his brain. I think it was partially generational too, because he saw.
I was going
Wait,
to ask you that. I was
yeah,
going to ask you, was he raised in a household with both parents?
no, he was not. He was
So
not.
his father was an absentee parent.
Hmm. Absolutely,
So
and his
he didn't.
mom raised him.
Okay, and so they have. Well, I still don't like to use it as an excuse for
Yeah, I
men,
don't.
though,
Yeah.
because um, I was a single parent of a son,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And when he became an adult and he got married, I know I did a lot and I tried to instill a lot. And one of the things I always would say is, don't you hurt nobody's daughter. And you know what I'm saying? But he still
Yeah.
didn't have an example on how to treat
Right.
women. And so when he would do things um in his relationships and
Hmm.
I would hear about it, I'd be like, no, I didn't raise you that way.
Yeah.
But you also didn't have an example to show you how. I just would
Hmm.
tell you don't do it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But
Hmm.
I also didn't show you how to do it.
Right.
So, and I'm not making an excuse for him, but
Absolutely.
there are a lot of men who grew up in single households
Hmm.
who mothers probably said, you don't treat a woman like this, don't do that.
Hmm.
um we maybe never also gave them the why behind why you don't do that, but
Absolutely.
also didn't show them how you do it.
Right. I totally agree with that. I think I really believe that we just aren't taught that. We aren't taught that in our households growing up, especially in our age group, Shawana and older. Like we're probably the last of the Mohicans, when it comes to when it comes when it comes to like that thought process. People younger than us, may have had parents that showed them better that they can, tell them. But us,
Yeah.
it was like we didn't. There were no examples of us being able to see healthy conflict resolution. And that's really important, I think, in households, to teach your children, let your children see how you manage that. But
Yeah.
we and it's not to make excuses for him, but I think, being in a single, you know, mother's household, he didn't necessarily get some of those things. And
Hmm.
honestly, and to take a little bit of ownership, um, I think that in our process, if we did more premarital counseling in the beginning, maybe we could have identified some of these things sooner, or I could have identified some of these things sooner that maybe we could have worked through beforehand.
Hmm.
I think that some of the ownership that um, I can take, um, in this scenario. Um, yeah,
I
that.
think,
Uh,
go ahead.
no, no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the thing that really gets me about the end of your story
Hmm.
is how he reacted when you said you wanted a divorce. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like, like he was sleeping in another room, and he slept in another room for quite a long time, right?
Yes, he did.
And
Um.
you finally was like, I'm done, and you actually filed for divorce. Talk about his reaction.
Oh wow. Ooh. Okay. So it wasn't good. So it wasn't good. He wasn't obviously happy with it. I think he thought that I was kind of playing. So one of the things that he did, I guess, enjoyed gambling in the casinos, right? So he would go to the casino and he would go without telling me and disappear for like 3 and 4 days. And mind you, he would do that a lot. So um, I decided, you know, the day all this kind of transpired was the week, I believe, after I had my like breakdown at work. Um, I like, and I wanted to touch on this before I go back to that story. So essentially, I broke down at work, and this is why um, me and our old boss have such a convoluted yet amazing relationship. You know what I'm talking about. He shall remain nameless on here because I don't know if he possibly may be watching, and there may be people from our job that are watching, so I
We're not
won't say his name.
we're not Facebook friends, but I know who you're
Okay.
talking about. He'll know
So
who you talking about too if he were watching.
so I had a a breakdown, like a mental breakdown at work, and I was working so much, and he knew this. I was telling him some of the things that were going on, not all, but some of the things, because I just didn't want it to impact my work, right? So one day I came in and had been up all night. I hadn't been to sleep, but I was going to work. That's one thing that I had learned over the course of time with my parents. You're going to work, we're going to work. So I came to work and I was sitting in my cabana, and I was just, I was sitting and I just broke. And I was just kind of sobbing, but I didn't think anybody could hear me. But he heard me and he came because I guess my cabana sat right next to his desk. So he walked over and he was like, "Kai, what's going on?" I'm like, I'm not feeling good today, but I'm gonna make it. Don't worry, I'm here to work. And then he looked at me, and when he looked at me, it's like he looked through me. Like when I say he looked at me, he looked through me and was like, nah, you're not good. He's like, I know. And he said, he looked at me. And that point, when he looked at me, I just kind of broke, like the dam broke, like everything, water, snot, and whole 9 yards. I never have gotten that emotional in front of anybody that I've ever worked with, maybe other than you. So he looked at me and he said, Kai, listen, I don't care where you go. Um, I don't care what you're doing, but you're not going to work today. And I was like, I was shocked and caught off guard by that, because you know how it is where we work. Like, you don't do that. You don't send like people home. Like, you just don't. And when you do, it's like, okay, you're in trouble, trouble. No, he just looked at me. He's like, Kai, you need to go take care of you. And he said it's really slow to me, just like that. And I'm like, he's like, go to the movies, go to the beaches in front of the water, go do something, but you do not need to be here right now, because I know where you are and what you're dealing with. And hadn't even told him, like, I hadn't told him in detail. So when he sent me home that day, that was like, okay, this is impacting, my livelihood at this point. And I definitely take that seriously. But that was like a really jarring moment. So to fast forward to what the question you just asked me, as far as how did he react, when I told him about me not wanting to be in the marriage anymore, he tried to, I guess, hit me where he knew it would hurt, which would be work. So he started like, and I told you this, he started calling the he started calling the contact center. He started calling, and that's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. Started calling, trying to talk to, you know, people to try to, look for me. And because at that time we were separated, because I had already, we're not separated, I'm sorry. We were, I guess, not necessarily all the way together. So in that moment, woo, with all the calling and all of that stuff, I just was like, you're trying to get me fired. Like, I would never, in my brain, I would never do that to my worst enemy. But you're doing this to somebody that you said that you supposedly loved. So he just didn't handle it very well. He would call, try to talk to my bosses, whole 9 yards. And then it finally came to a point where I guess he just finally accepted it. I walked away from everything. When I say I walked away from everything, because my sanity and my peace of mind was more important to me. So when I walked away from everything, I walked away from everything. We shared a house. I let him have the house. I let him have all of it. Like, I just walked away. I started all over again at my mom's house, sleeping on a mattress, air mattress with Kamali. So
Wow.
that's 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 how it happened, and he wasn't happy with it, but I just pushed forward because in that point, I had no choice.
Yeah. But you left with your peace.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I did. And that is the only thing that I had. When I say I had to start all over again from scratch, I had to start all over again from scratch. Kamali was right next to me. That is my ride or die. I love my baby girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, start all over again. Eventually, part of the divorce decree, he had to refinance it, or we had to sell it in the next
Hmm.
year. So we couldn't do that, so we had to sell it. So that was the end result. But he wasn't happy with it. He wasn't happy with it, obviously. But the thing that really killed me, and I had asked him a question during the divorce proceedings, because for me, it's like, you know, you're in a place where you're not understanding why we're divorcing, but you didn't do anything to try to
Fight for the
fix it
marriage.
and fight
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
So what did you expect from me? So to this day, I don't fully understand his mindset or his mentality when we were walking through all of this. I just know
Yeah.
that what I can take from it, what I can glean from it, what I can learn from that part of my life. And nobody other than you really knew what was going on with me at the
Did your
time.
family
And
know?
huh?
Did you even share this with your family, your mom? Did you even
Yeah, yes, they
okay.
knew. They knew what was going on. They did. But I mean, outside of my family
Yeah.
unit. And I do take to take that back, because she may be watching. There was another employee that I was working and sitting next to every day, and she kind of knew what was going on because
Okay.
at work. But um, me having to tell my bosses about what transpired, it had to happen because of him interjecting and calling and interrupting the business day
Yeah. Yeah.
and stuff. So that's that's how he reacted, and that's how it ended.
And so now I mean, now you started life over. You had to go back to your parents' house. You're in your own place now, and you started this new relationship.
Oh, you gonna talk about that? Okay.
N- and you started this new relationship. June 2026. Save the date.
Oh gosh.
He listen. He
Oh,
threw that one out there. I'm like, wait a minute. She ain't even told me that. Golly. So, and you don't have to go into detail about how you and Nora met. You already told me. So, anywho, but in everything that you went through, you didn't stop
yeah.
singing because
I
you
didn't.
that was your safe place. That was your
It
love.
was.
And so you've been working on some new stuff.
Yes. So I didn't stop singing, and I didn't stop performing or my connection to music, because it was something that I promised my grandmother. So my grandmother was like my bestie. Everybody says your grandparent is your bestie, but truly, I really loved my grandmother,
Yeah.
and we had a really amazing relationship over the course of time. And she believed, you know, in my talent and my ability. And anytime that she used to come down and visit us and whatever, here in Pensacola, she would come to church, and she would always ask me to sing her song. And she'd always encourage me. And the one thing that I promised her before she left the planet, and while she still had her right mind, is that um, I would have my own body of work to present to the world. And I thought I did that with Divinity. Divinity was this great journey that I had with some ladies that were amazing at the time, and we did some really positive things, and got some original material out there. But it was just my promise to her that kept me going, to be
Hmm.
connected to music and connected in the way that I have been. And that's what um, I have been working on for the past. Divinity broke up in, oh gosh, let me get to this. Oh, about 5 years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago. And after that, I was like, I should be working on my own stuff. So I tried to do that, and I was working with a producer, and that, you know, didn't work out. And it was just really like a lot of heartache and roadblocks that I wasn't expecting because I had already been through the process with Divinity with the original music. But long story short, I linked back up with the producers that we worked with Divinity, and now I have we'll be releasing an 11 song project soon. So I'm excited.
Okay. So
I'm
we
excited.
we need to stay tuned for the
Yes.
new music to come out. Okay. Okay.
Yes. This is gonna be like this project is just a reflection of some of the things that I walked through. Some of the things that I've experienced over the course of time, of life, or
Mhm.
even since my divorce. Um, I before I met, or before me and Noah met, I experienced some frogs, and even some of that,
Some
even
frauds.
some frogs, um, and even some of that experience is told, and some of these stories are told
In the music.
in the music. It
Okay.
was therapeutic. It was very therapeutic to write this,
Okay.
and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do it. So it's coming. Stay tuned.
So we getting ready to close this thing
Yes.
out, but before we close it out, because I try to keep people for an hour, but when the conversation get real good, we just keep going, we keep talking. But
Yes.
before we close out, the last
Mhm.
thing I would like for you to do is sing just a little bit of your grandmother's favorite song.
Oh Lord, I'm getting over a cold. Okay, no,
Just a
I'll do
little bit.
it. All
Oh,
right.
Noah, give us some water.
Her favorite song, which is on the album, actually, is the Sparrow song. And I used to sing this for her all the time. And so, okay. Why should I feel discouraged? And why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know, woo, voice cracking. Thank you, Lord. He watches me. Bless God.
Girl,
You're so
chills
silly.
going up my. Listen, you are anointed. You are
Thank you, my friend.
anointed to
Thank
sing.
you. I appreciate that. Not a lot of people. I I haven't put myself out there as someone who, sings in by myself. I've always enjoyed the group dynamic, but because I promised my grandmother that I would take this journey, I'm just keeping my promise to her. So that's why the album ends with that song. So,
Wow.
but thank you.
I just feel God on all of that, girl. Well, I thank God for you, Kai, for
Thank
coming
God for
onto the
you.
truth, um, sharing your
Thank
truth,
you.
sharing your story, sharing what you went through. I'm quite sure that there are some other ladies who probably not just ladies, but even men. Like, I don't want to. This is not about male bashing. Let me just
It's
say
not. It's
that,
not.
because men go through it
Hmm.
relationships as well. And
Yes.
so I thank God for you and for
Thank
you
you.
coming to share your story. I thank God for what He's doing in your life now. And I look forward to buying this new album, listening to this new music. It's time for you to come from behind the veil and come to the front. It's easy to
Yeah.
be in a group, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Because you can hide
Mhm.
yourself in a group. But when
Yes.
you by yourself,
Yeah. Yeah. Shawana, I just want to say thank you so much for being just a true, genuine friend to me over the years. I just really appreciate you as a human. Um, you've just been so genuine to me, and just hearing me out through all that discourse and all that confusion that I was walking through, just meant the world to me. So I really appreciate you. And thank you for allowing me to come on your platform and
you're
just share
welcome.
my story. And hopefully, it helped somebody to know that they don't have to stay in things that are not for them. Once you discover that it's not for you, you don't have to live in that. And it's okay. As Christian people, sometimes we think that we have to be in these situations because we took that vow before God, and we did. However, life happens, and you can start all over again, and you can be happy. So don't dwell in unhappiness or negativity. You can be in a better place. But thank you, my friend. I love you.
I love you too, Kai. Thank you again. Well, for those of you that are watching, thank you so, so, so very much. Wait a minute. Noah's saying something. Let me read his comment. Below the Surface coming soon. YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music,
You're so
Apple Music.
silly.
Shout
Yeah.
you out. Okay. All
Okay.
right. We thank you. Thank you,
Thanks.
Noah. Thank
Thank
you all so much for tuning into the Truth
you.
Conversations No One Likes to Have. Again, I am your host, Evangelist Shawana Smiley, or Shawana Britsha, as you all know me on this platform.
Mhm.
Thank you again so much for tuning in. You guys have an amazing rest of your day. God bless.
God bless.